Hello everyone and welcome back to the Basics of Data Management course. This is module 4, Data Collection with Google Forms. In this module, we're going to talk about all the basic features that Google Forms offers. I'm sure you've already used it before, whether it is for filling a form or maybe you've even created a form and shared it with other people to fill. But in this course, we're going to cover the basic ground, and we hope that by the end of this course, you will feel a lot more confident and comfortable with all the basic features of Google Forms. So let's get started. First, if you open your browser and log into your Google account and then go to drive.google.com, you will come to Google Drive. Now in Google Drive, you always have this new button on the top left. If you click on this button, you get options for creating a new Google form. You could either click on this button directly, or alternatively, if you were to go to forms.google.com, it will take you to this page. This page is where all the Google Forms that are associated with your Google account, they are all displayed in a list here. So you could either see all your old forms here, or you could go on this plus button and click on this create new form button. So let's do that. I clicked on this, and now anytime you create a new Google form, this is exactly how it loads. So let's spend some time covering the basics of what is shown on this screen. Let's start from the top left. This here is the forms by home button. It will take you back to the screen that we were on right now. This here is the title of your form. This is both the title and the file name. So any Google form that you create, it is saved as a file in your Google Drive. So that file needs to have a name. So let's set a name for the file here. Let's say the file name is going to be data management training demo. Okay. Now it is important that we always set the file name first, because otherwise the Google form will be saved as untitled form. And then you can often end up in a situation where your Google Drive is filled with untitled form 1, untitled form 2, and that can be very confusing when you have to come back to the data later. So when you get started with a new Google form, the first thing you should do is set the file name. Now if you notice, soon as I set the file name, it automatically changed the title here also. Previously it said untitled, now it is saying data management training demo, same thing that I had written there. Now there's a difference between what goes here and what shows here. This is the file name. This is only visible to you as the form creator. No one else can see this. This is the name of the file that will be shown in your Google Drive. This, on the other hand, is the name of the form. It is the title of the form. This will be shown to everyone who comes and fills the form. They will see this title. Now you probably don't want this to show as the title of your form. So let's change this. Let's change this to something more readable. So we'll say MIS staff personal detail collection, or let's say personal detail form. Now anytime when someone comes to fill this form, it will show them this title and not that one. That is just for your Google Drive. Now just from the title you can get some idea that the MIS staff personal detail form is probably about collecting personal details of MIS staff. But it's always a good idea to always provide a form description, so that anyone who comes to fill the form can get a little bit more context as to what is this form about, why is this data being collected, and who is collecting this data. So let me write that down. One is, what is this form about? Why is this data being collected? And lastly, who is collecting this data? It is always a good idea to try to answer at least these 3 questions in the form description. Because often sometimes Google form is just going to be a link, as you know, and link can go on WhatsApp, on anywhere, email, and it could reach somebody else who is not the intended audience for this form. Say you want to collect data from all the head teachers, but this form has somehow gone to all the data entry operators. No, you don't want the data entry operator to fill this form. So if we are able to clarify in the form description itself, in the very beginning of the form, that who is the target audience, then we can be sure that at least the person who is looking at the form can decide for themselves whether they have to fill this form or not. So for this, let's just say, what is this form about? This form is being circulated to collect the personal details of all MIS staff in South Bengal region. Let's just say like that, or let's just say in West Bengal state. Okay. Now, why is this data being collected? This information will be used to plan events. Let's just say that's the idea here. And who is collecting this data? We can just say best regards MIS Staff Association, or let's just say West Bengal MIS Staff Association. This is this hypothetical association that we have here. Now you see, let me just remove this from here. Now when someone sees the form, they will be immediately able to see that this form is being circulated to collect the personal details of MIS staff, and it will be used to plan events, and it has been circulated by the West Bengal MIS Staff Association. So the audience and the context is immediately clear. Before you go any further, this has to be clarified. It really helps improve the quality of data that gets entered in your form. So let me bring back the 3 questions. What is this form about? Why is this data being collected? And who is collecting this data? Great. Now, what else do we have on the screen? You see, we have these 2 buttons. This is just Google Drive related. The file that Google Forms is being saved, and if you want to move it to a different folder, you can click this button. If you want to bookmark or save this in the top of your Google Drive, you can press the star button. Now this here is all changes saved in Drive. So in Google Drive, as you know, whether it's Google Docs or Forms or Google Sheet, you don't have to manually press the save button the way you have to do with Microsoft Excel or Microsoft PowerPoint or Word, because Google Drive automatically saves all of your changes. So even in this Google form, you just make your changes and be sure, you can be assured that it will be automatically saved. Now the next button we have here is the customize theme button. Now what this allows you to do, let's just open it, is you can change the font size, you can add a header image, and you can change the color scheme of your form. Now you can get as creative with it as you like, but it is often a good idea to use the default font because it is the easiest to read. Because if the form is not easy to read, then the person filling the data is more likely to make mistakes. So you can of course change the color and you can add a header and all that, but stick to the basics for simplicity purposes. But just for the case of this demonstration, let's change the header font to, let's say, Palatino, and let's reduce the size a little bit. Now the question, we don't have a question yet, but okay, let's change this to Palatino also. You see it has changed the font here, and let's make it a little bit bigger. And the text is fine in Roboto, but we can make it a bit bigger. Now header image, Google provides you some default images that you can choose from. So let's say we go with this painting one. If I select this and press the insert button, it automatically uploads this image and adds it to the top of your form. And you see, not only has it added the image, it has also changed the color scheme of the form. Previously it was showing a more blue purple tint. Now it is showing a more brown color tint because that is what is the color scheme of this image as well. So if you were to upload your own image in this rectangular format, that way it will automatically suggest a color scheme. But you can always modify this color scheme. Let's say instead of this light brown, we want this darker brown. You can just click that and it automatically changes the colors here. So this is basic customization. This is the form preview button. We'll just come to it in a minute. And this of course is the undo and the redo button. So if there's anything you want to change, like we just changed the color scheme, we want to go back to the older color, I can press the undo button and see it has automatically changed the color back to what it was. I can redo it to go back to what I just did. Then there's the send button for of course sharing the form. We'll come to that also later. And there are a few other options in this more menu. Let's see what those options are. One is to make a copy of the form. This is useful, say, if you have made a form for, let's say, at the district level, you've made a form and now you want to allow all the blocks or all the circles in your district to have similar forms. Then you can just make a copy of that form and share that copy with all your block level or circle level colleagues, and they can use that. That way the original form stays with you and a copy gets shared. So if any mistake happens in the copy, or say someone accidentally edits something in the copy, it remains in the copy and original form is not changed. So that is helpful here. Or you can of course move to bin, which is delete the form, and pre-filled link, print and all. We'll come back to all this later. You can also see, explore them on your own. This of course is your Google account. Now we've covered the top bar, we've covered the header image, we've covered the title, and we've covered the description. Let's come to the most important part, which is the questions. Now in Google Forms, questions are of a few set types. You can have a multiple choice question, or you could have a checkbox question in which more than one option can be selected. This is a bit confusing sometimes. Multiple choice is, in our understanding in India, often we mean multiple choice in the sense that you can maybe select multiple options. But no, multiple choice in Google Forms means that you can only select one option. Whereas if you want to select more than one option, then you have to go with the checkbox option. Then you have the drop down. The drop down is same as the multiple choice, just that instead of showing all four options together, it shows them behind a drop down menu. Then your other options are text input, which is a short answer or a long paragraph answer. And then you have some date or time related. If say you are asking for someone to input which date they are free on, or you're asking what time they would be available at, then you can use these options. Often we also need to say collect some images or report or PDF Word file from in a survey. Then you can use the file upload option. The important thing to remember about the file upload option is that, say you've circulated the form and 100 people have filled and 100 files have been uploaded, all of those files will get uploaded in your Google Drive account. As the creator of the form, as the owner of the form, whenever in a survey someone uploads a file to your form, it will be saved in your Google Drive. A specific folder gets created by the name of your form in your Google Drive, and that's where all the files will go. So you have to be careful about it. If you are collecting a lot of data, file upload can quickly fill up all of your Google Drive space. So just be careful with it. It is often a good idea after you have collected some files data to download it to your local hard drive so that some more space is cleared in your Google Drive. Then the last three options you have for questions are the linear scale, multiple choice grid, and a tick box grid. We'll cover these in more detail because they are a little bit more complicated. But let's start with our first question. Let's say the first question is something very simple as what is your name? Now this doesn't have to be a multiple choice, this has to be a short answer. So we've set it as short answer. Now let's look at what other options we are getting on the screen. One of the options we have here is this duplicate button. So if I want to press this, it will duplicate the same question. And the next is of course delete. So I can just press this and get rid of that duplicate, and I can always undo it either from here or from here. Then this one is whether this is a required question or not. Now what required means is when someone is filling the survey, filling the Google form, if a question is marked as non-required, this option is turned off. See, now this option is off. Then I can submit the form without answering this question. But if it is marked as required, the form will not be submitted no matter what you do. This question has to be answered or the form will not be submitted. Now let's see what more options we have here. One is description and the other is response validation. These are both very useful. So let's start with description first. Now what description does, it is similar to what we did here. You see, this is the form title and this is the form description. In a question, you have your question's title, which we can also make it bold using this. So let's say that's the question title, what is your name? But we want something, we want to give some input in addition to what we have written in the question. So here is in the description is where you can write, kindly enter your full name as per your official records. You see, because someone might enter their name only the first name, someone might write their full name. For example, my full name is Gurjot Singh Sidhu as per official records. So we could even give that as an example. You see, for example, enter Gurjot Singh Sidhu and not Gurjot or Gurjot Sidhu. You see, now when someone views this form, they will not only see the question, they'll also see this little input, this little description next to the question, which gives them a little bit more detail as to how to answer this question, how to fill the information that has been requested in this question. And then they can answer it in this short answer text box. Now another option that we have here is response validation. This is very helpful for both text responses and also for all the other question types that we have. Now this is what is your name, so you can select what kind of response is allowed here. You can either go for number, text, length or regular expression. Now what number, of course in your name we don't want number option, what we want is text. Now it says text. Further options we have are contains, doesn't contain, email or URL. Now even this does not really fit our case, because what we really need is we need to set a maximum or a minimum length of somebody's answer to this question, which we can get from the length option. If I go to length, look at here, it gives us the maximum character count option and the minimum character count option. Now let's say what is your name, let's set the maximum character count to not more than 50 characters, and then we can set the custom error text, which is the error that will be shown if someone tries to type more than 50 characters. Please ensure that your answer is limited to 50 characters. Great. Now that is how you use response validation. In what is your name, maybe response validation is not that helpful because people's names can be both short and long. So we could also just click on it again to remove response validation. Now let's try to add another question. Let's try to add a question. What is your email? Now even here, you see, I just typed what is your email and Google form automatically changed it to short answer. So it helps you that way sometimes. Let's add a description also here. What is your email? Kindly enter your official email address. Okay. And in this we can add response validation for type text, and we can say that it has to be an email. And the custom error text can be, please enter a valid email address. Now Google will automatically check that the input that the person is giving is a valid email or not. So if sometimes you might end up missing some character, or you put an extra space after at, or instead of writing .com you only you miss the O, you only write .cm, which is not valid. So Google will automatically check all of that for you, but you have to make sure that you set this response validation on your question. Otherwise it will not work.